Yeah, so we had, over 15 years ago now, our daughter was born with blue eyes, and it was something that I just never expected to have a child with blue eyes. And I was taken aback by it, and I mean, really excited about it. And we called her our Blue Eye Samurai, and oh, that's a really good title. We should think about doing something with that. But then ultimately I started to think about what's the big deal with having blue eyes? What's my fascination? What's our cultural fascination with blue eyes? All these songs written about having blue eyes. So we started to think, what would it be like to have blue eyes in Japan in a time when the borders were closed in the 1600s, where it would be illegal, it would be freakish to walk around looking like that. And that kind of just paved the way for this story that we spun over 10 years until we actually put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard.
It is interesting. There are plenty of people who think that closed borders are an ideal situation for this country. Um, and that's an ugly thought.
Yeah, there have definitely been a lot of unfortunate mistakes in casting over the last
100 years of
yeah,
film.
exactly. And when there are plenty of Asian actors to play the Asian roles. So we definitely needed to make sure that nothing like that happened, that and that everybody got to celebrate, and anybody who was Asian watching it got to celebrate seeing or hearing Asian voices in it. And that was of utmost priority to make sure that Asians felt represented, and Asian American actors got to be part of the artistic process because they really enriched um, the the lines, the characters, everything about the show.
And it's an easy thing to do. It turns out
Right.
the only thing that is required is saying, we would like to do this. And everyone says, great. And then suddenly you're introduced to the greatest actors of their generation. People were very excited. We were very excited. I had the pleasure of working with him briefly before. He was kind enough to pretend to remember me. Uh, but his first records, people were trying to like sneak into the meeting. A lot of people grabbing screen grabs. He's very much a gentleman. He is an incredible performer. And it's also, he spent so many decades being people having an emotional reaction to him. So he knows when he meets new people that they're probably going to need to get something out of their system. And he helps them get it out of their system. And then it's time to get to work, and he gets to be the brilliant actor he is.
Sure. Yes. I mean, we wanted this to be, we wanted to stick a flag in adult animation, that this is for adults. This is not for kids. We wanted to bring adults in, knowing that there was going to be a sophistication of storytelling. This was going to be there's going to be a visceral response to our characters' anger and rage, and we were going to feel it. We were going to see it on the screen. And there's, people like to see some violence. Maybe it's not for everybody, but this was definitely a tale that we wanted to show her anger and the results of that anger, the results of her self-loathing. And I feel like you have some thoughts on blood. You love blood.
um, fight choreography can be a beautiful thing, and we wanted every element of this show to be sumptuous, and that included the fighting, and that included the violence. Um, we wanted it to be a good time. We don't really think of it as a controversy. It's just part of our story. Is that at the time in Edo-period Japan in the 1657, when this takes place, um, the roles for women were very bound. They really didn't have a lot of options. In sometimes some places, women couldn't even travel alone without a chaperone. So the idea of a character who had a goal, in this case, our character is on a revenge quest, just to be able to move around, you couldn't be a woman doing it. So a very practical decision from our character was, for a few reasons, also because she believes people are after her, she's to hide her identity. Uh, that a lot of people find controversy in stories about gender identification, or people having their own opinions about how they want to present. That's much more of a modern lens of what people like to find controversial. We found it a very interesting story to tell. I think that was our comparison.
Oh, well, can you talk a little more about that?
Sure.
Yeah, so Yentl is I've always loved Yentl since the time I was a little girl. And I found the love triangle so compelling that Yentl and Avigdor, they have this love of the Torah, and they want to study the Torah so much that they just have this electric connection. And that even though Avigdor, what's the Hadassah?
Hadass.
Hadass. Avigdor has his intended bride, Hadass, but they don't really have anything in common. She's just a suitable bride. And I loved this idea, or we both did, that Mizu and Taigen would have this. They came from the same place. They both wanted to rise above their station for different reasons, but they were single-minded and obsessed with being a great swordsman, and that they would have that connection because they were just brothers in battle. And then there would be a Kemi, and that story will develop a little more.
And of course that Yentl was forbidden from studying her passion because of her gender. And just like Mizu would have been forbidden from becoming the swordsman she needed to be, and to go on a revenge quest, which men could do at the time, because of her gender. So
there's a lot of emotional inspiration for it.
And Kill Bill's just one of the greatest revenge tales of modern film. The reception, it's like we don't know what the reception is yet. We've spoken with some reporters today, and getting a wider sense, but we're very excited for the world to have a chance to watch it. Netflix is a global company, so we're hoping for a global audience. And we made it for a very, very wide audience. We've been baking this cake so long, we really just can't wait to serve it. So we're very excited that it's finally out there.